Okay, let's see now. How's that? Is that better? Better? Worse? How's the audio now? Does that work, you guys? All right, yay, okay, we're doing it. Fantastic. Oh, good, this is working. I'm so psyched. Okay, so welcome you guys to Bali. So good to be here with you guys. So I wanted to have this live stream, not only just to be like how cool to share this experience with you guys being in Bali and what it's like to be here. It's been an amazing trip. We are currently in the forest, or in the jungle, I should say. Everything's a forest to me because I'm from the Northwest. And yeah, it is truly like I'm looking out at, well, here, I'll show you. Like, I think I showed you guys on my short, but just check this out. Like, it is stunning out there. And yes, it's like rainy because it rained this morning, but it is just beautiful here. And we're staying at let me get this over here. We're staying at like a vegan spa. So I'm just being completely pampered this whole time. It's just awesome. And we did do I did like a traditional Balinese healing experience with a traditional Balinese healer day before yesterday, which was awesome. And then yesterday we went to the rice fields, and like it's been so fun. Yeah, really, really different. And I am like covered in bug bites, and it's like so sweaty, but it's beautiful. I'm a temperature wimp. Like I'm from the Northwest, where the temperature only moves between like this much of a variation. Like it's very temperate there. So it's so good to spend this time with you guys. Hello, I'm seeing everybody in the chat. Yeah, I am happy. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, and this is a great place. Like this was kind of one of my bucket list trips, was to come here. And I have learned so much about like the way that they structure their society and live their lives. Like, do you know, like in home, being an American, we have our homes, or it's like we always joke about, like the kitchen is the center of our home. And, the house is kind of built around the kitchen. And when people come to your house, they go to the kitchen. And one of the guys that works here took us on like a tour of the village. This resort is like centered in a village. It's a really, really cool, it's like an eco retreat. And everything here is like, all the people that work here are like from the village that surrounds it. It's a really lovely place conceptually. And so he took us on a tour of the village and explained everything about the local temple, and then how the people in the village, like apparently people here, they have like a family home, and they don't ever sell their home. Like it's just like they don't even know who built the home. Like this guy said his family has been living there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and they have no idea who built it. And all the family lives there, everybody. And that's just like how they structure their society. But when you walk into the home, the center of the home is like it's an open air. You have one entrance, a doorway, you come in, and then there's bedrooms off of the main courtyard. But the main focus of the home is the spiritual spaces. So right in the center, like pride of place, what we would call like the kitchen, they have a ceremonial space which they use for like the most important ceremonies, which would be like for the passing of a relative or something like that. They have just a big, and it commands like a good portion of the living area, and it's only used for important ceremonies, and that's it. And then everything, they don't have a living room. There's no like lazy boy. You know what I mean? Like the dad, when he came in, was like watching TV, like sitting on the patio kind of right in front of this. They just like sitting on the floor basically with the TV propped up against a post. And then they have another space that's dedicated for praying, and another space that's dedicated for like weddings. So like everything in the home is ceremonial, and then they kind of live around it. So different from how we are at home. And yeah, and amazing to see and just see another culture and how they think about life. So yeah, so that's been fascinating and beautiful, and I have loved it. Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you guys today about some of what I have learned. You guys know I've been a healing for a really long time. I've been a healer for over a decade professionally, and I started out doing clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient healing. So, and some of you guys know I talk about it. Like I used to sort of step into like another person's body. And from that space, I could see and experience what they were feeling, and I would move energy. And so I learned a lot about healing. Every session was different, from that perspective. But then as things changed and I started working with the angels more closely and started trance channeling, so then I heal with them. And I had to learn about it from a whole new perspective. So every time they stretch me, every time they put me into a new circumstance, I learn more about the process of healing, about our journey. Like, what are we doing here, right? What are we doing here on Earth? And Superior Bill is saying, love Bali, been a long time since I've been. People are beautiful. So that is the truth. Like, everybody here is so incredibly kind. Like, I just have loved it. You're saying Bali's on your bucket list. You can do this trip. Like, I had a lot of to overcome in terms of coming, because it's like 16 hours just to get to Singapore, and then I got another 2.5 hours. Like, it's a long flight. So worth it. It was so worth it. I'm so glad we did it, really. So, but okay, so back to the part about healing. So as soon as I started doing Soul Convergence, it opened up a whole new perspective on healing. So I would say before, when I was doing healing, when I was working like in the old modalities that I would work through, I would go in, like I would say, I would step into another person's body. I could feel where there was a density or where there was trauma, or I could see past lives. I would see, where they had been injured, or where they had, something traumatic had happened. And then I could go into that energy. I could see what happened. I could tell the person, and then I could feel when the energy shifted. Like, I could feel it was almost like a whoosh. And because I was in their body, I could feel it in my body, be like a whoosh and a release. And I have always seen when there's a lot of modalities that you see when they go through the healing process. You see them pulling energy out, and it's almost like throwing it away, like sending it back to source, like pulling the energy out and releasing it. And so for a long time, that was like how I thought about healing. It's like we have these like stuck blockages that we have to pull out, like almost like goo in our system, and we have to pull it out and release it, And that was for the first many years of healing practice, that was how I thought about it, that it would be a blockage. And I do think that there is that there are times that we just get like excess emotion that we haven't processed, that is sort of in the body as a density that is like a thought form. And that thought form, just like in Harry Potter with the pensieve, where they've got the wand and they pull the thought out of their head and then they put it in the bowl, like that, where you could pull an energy out and then it would free something up for the person. So there are those types of energies that you can release through that method of kind of literally lifting out an energy, lifting out a thought form, but a feeling form, right? And releasing it. But when you go deeper to the next level of healing, those energies are different. And it really gets to me, like, and I feel like the best way to talk about it is about what is self-love. And we talk about self-love all the time, and I think there's so much confusion around the concept of self-love, because it is like this thought of like, how do I know if I have it? Like, how do I love myself? Like, is it like, am I loving myself now? Like, do I love myself by giving myself presents or letting myself have a massage? Is that self-love? Like, certainly all the people that sell us stuff want us to think that self-love is buying ourselves things, but that's not it. Like, that's not what self-love is. Like, self-deprivation is not self-love. It doesn't mean you should never like let yourself have nice things, but self-love, where I feel like I have gained the most clarity through this healing process is in the understanding that self-love is self-acceptance. And what we're trying to get to in our healing process is the deepest level of self-acceptance that we can stomach, that we can allow inside of ourselves. And you're seeing self-love as chocolate. Totally. It can be. It absolutely can be. But and you're also saying, I would love to find out what my past lives are. Got an idea, but it's just guessing. Oh yeah, it is. It is definitely fascinating to see your past lives, for sure. And I can give you some techniques to help you get in touch with those. But so this idea of self-acceptance, and I think and I'll get to in more depth about how this came through as healing, but I think the best way to understand it conceptually, so we'll start kind of at the conceptual level and then get down into the nitty gritty, but think about like the metaphor of self-love, think of it as like a plant, like loving a plant. And imagine that you plant a plant, like you put a seed in the ground and this plant comes up. And then how do you interact with that plant? So one way that humans have interacted with plants is by saying, okay, here's the plant, and now I'm going to take this plant and conform it to my vision. Like I have a vision for my garden, and I want this plant, it normally blossoms with white flowers, but I want them to be pink, so I'm going to hybridize it. I'm going to connect it with something else, or I'm going to put dye in the roots so it absorbs a color and it blooms the colors that I want, right? So I'm going to change the color of the plant to fit my vision, this bigger vision I'm trying to create in my garden. Or maybe we say, I'm going to take this natural structure of this plant and I'm going to espalier. I'm going to stake it and make it grow in a particular topiary form, right? Or I'm going to take the plant as it is and I'm going to modify it to be in alliance or in accordance with my vision, with how I think it should look. Right? And then there's the other model of having a plant, which is when we have the seed, put it in the ground, and then when we see that seed sprout, we clear away space for the seed, right? We clear away what's on the ground. We make sure that there's adequate sunlight. We provide shade when shade is needed. If the plant seems to be getting too much sun, we might provide shade if that's needed. We provide water when the plant needs water, and we make space. We allow the plant to become what it is, and we don't try to change the plant. And so these are sort of two models of how we interact with the things, the people, with our reality. So think about the plant now as a child, as your own child. As a child, whether or not you've ever had a child, but imagine it as a child. Imagine it as the little you, as the inner self, right? Your inner child. And we have the model of the first model, which is where we take that child and we say, okay, child, I know you have these innate qualities and abilities or disabilities, whatever they might be, but I have a vision for what you should be like. And that vision is formed based on my experience and my wounds and my perceptions of the ways I've been criticized and the standards I've been held to, right? So what society tells me I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to try to conform you into this mold. And so I'm going to, trim you, and I'm going to cut you, and I'm going to shape you, and I'm going to mold you, and I'm going to criticize you, and all the things we do to our inner child to try to conform it into our vision of what a person should be, right? And then we have the other model, which is where we say, oh, okay, here I have this child. I'm going to make space for this child, right? I'm going to clear away the debris. I'm going to clear away and make sure there's nothing competing in the soil. I'm going to make space for this child to grow and to become the fullness of what it can be, right? To provide it adequate sunlight, adequate water, not too much, right? Just the right amount. And that is self-love. This process of saying, okay, how do I let myself become who I fully am rather than trying to turn me into a topiary? And this process, how do we get to that? How do we get to this process of being, of allowing ourselves to become who we are? And it's about that conditional versus unconditional love for ourselves, where on one hand, I think this is everyone to some degree. I think that none of us are fully free of this, that we have certain conditions that we set on ourselves for when we are lovable. And we say, I am lovable if, I weigh this amount, if I achieve this thing, right? If I earn this much, if I, if people respond to me in this particular way, what are the things that we criticize? If my house is this clean, whatever it is, what are the things that we criticize ourselves for? And we tell ourselves, okay, I will love me if I can do these things. If I remember to get up and do my yoga every day, then I'm lovable, right? If I don't, not lovable. And so there's this conditional love that we have for ourselves. So in the soul convergence process, what I saw, and for me, when I'm channeling, especially channeling the angels, they are always speaking, and I don't always remember all the words that they say, but they're kind of giving me a second track the whole time they're speaking, as they're giving me a second track of visuals, and they're showing me things. And so that's where I do my learning, is I see, and they're showing me metaphors for everything that they're doing. And what I was seeing in this concept of unconditional love, of loving ourselves deeply, is that it wasn't this original thought that I had about healing, which is that you have this density and you want to pull it out and throw it away. Like you want to return that energy back to source, like pull it out of yourself. It wasn't that. It was saying, no, this energy is lovable. This energy is part of us. And what we want to do is love it. And we want to say, instead of looking at that and saying it's wrong, that in other words, there's nothing wrong with the energy. What the illness or dis-ease comes from is our resistance to that part of ourselves. What if there was nothing wrong with you? What if you just said right at this minute, you are 100% perfect? That even with all your foibles, at every little wobbly bit you have on your body, like whatever it is, if you said you are perfect, this is exactly what you were meant to be. Like when you were, before you incarnated, you could see ahead and see who you were going to become, and you knew everything about yourself. And from that perspective, you would have looked down and said, I am perfect. And what if you could see that now and love every bit of you? And the resistance you have to all those little things about yourself that you judge, if the resistance was what we were trying to heal, right? We're not trying to heal what we consider to be wrong. We're trying to consider heal our resistance to what we are. And so it really brings me to one of the times I remember somebody was asking me, it might have been in one of our lives, somebody was asking me about their partner. They mentioned it in the chat, and they said their husband was in the hospital, and they asked for help, for healing help from the angels for their husband. And I tuned in briefly, and I could see that there was an angel in the room with him, right next to him, just standing there, literally right there, just waiting to be let in, right? And it is this idea of what will we allow, how much love will we allow into ourselves? And we keep the love out through our resistance to who we are, to what we are, to what we think we have to be a particular way. And so we don't let love in. And that's our own self-love, that's the love of other people. And so this concept that we have to take the things out and throw them away, certainly there's going to be things in your field. It's just sort of like when we walk, I always joke about Costco, but when we walk through Costco, we pick up stuff, and that you can clear that out in a lovely way. Like that's clearing your field, clearing your energy, if you have a lot of negative thought forms swirling around in your head, just clearing those out and releasing those, that's a beautiful feeling, and that's great. But for deep healing, right, for the stuff that's like our deep trauma, it's about loving it. It's about saying, oh, okay, I see that part of myself. I see that part of myself that procrastinates all the time. Or I see that part of myself who's late. I see that part of myself who, whatever it is, who's addicted to chocolate, whatever. And I love that part of myself. And it doesn't mean that we never change or grow, but it's like a child. If you have that individual child and you say, okay, child, I'm going to love you exactly as you are, and know that in the process of being accepted, the child is no longer judging themselves and is open to seeing themselves with more clarity. It becomes safe to see themselves, and it becomes safe to see when maybe they are standing in their own way, right? It becomes safe to see when they are having those negative thoughts about themselves. It becomes safe it becomes safe to grow, in other words. So, and you're saying the difference between good or bad is judgment. So true, right? And you're saying, imagine your inner talk and thoughts being spoken to a child. How does that change what you say? So true, right? I love that. That's exactly right. Is when we think about what we say to ourselves and imagine that we are speaking to our own child, and how would we change what we say? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So in the soul convergence process, what I saw happening is that the angels would be bringing up, and the challenge a lot of us have, what I would see them doing is they'd be bringing up all of these deep judgments, right? These deep wounds that we have, and bringing them up into the body and then loving them, right? And it would be literally like a basking in love. And that was my absolute favorite part of every healing, because the first half of every healing would be like bringing up the issues, and that can be hard because you're just like feeling the feels, and it's deep. And you guys know, like when you let the emotions run loose, it's like, whoa, right? So you're feeling the feels, and they are deliberately triggering people. They're deliberately going in, and the angels are working inside of every person during these sessions. So they're in there, it's like, with the shovel excavating, like, here's some junk, let's get this up, let's bring this up to the surface. So they get everybody to this state of like feeling, and then I would feel this energy come in, and it would come in through me, and it would be just this wave of incredible divine love. And it was just the most beautiful, blissful experience, right? Just absolute loving compassion. So like, as a matter of fact, if you guys want to feel it, if you want to feel what it feels like, I'll do it right now. So if you guys want to close your eyes, let's just do it. Let's just bring in this energy just so you can feel the love. And all you got to do to let this in is to just allow. Like, in other words, any part of yourself that feels hesitant or worrying that you're not going to feel it, any of that, just let it be. Like, let it be, let the doubt be there, let all of it be there, and say, okay, that doubt, I love that doubt. Let the love that doubt, right? Wherever you are right now, let it be perfect, and let that, whatever it is you're worried about, let that be loved, okay? So go ahead and close your eyes, and let's just do this briefly. And so drop down from your tailbone a nice thick root that goes down through the floor and down into the ground, and follow it down with your mind as it grows and extends, growing deeper and deeper into the earth. And follow it down all the way to the very, very center of the earth. And when it reaches that center place, feel the root sprout and anchor itself in. And as it does, notice that that root is pulling gently, becoming taut. And feel as that tautness moves all the way up the root. And now all the way up your spine, anchoring you securely to the earth. And now take a deep breath. I'm going to invite the angels to come in. And if you allow the angels to see and work with your energy this morning, please give them your verbal assent. Yes, it's okay that I don't hear you. And allow them in. And the energy's coming in now. Just let that move through your body. You might feel that as a warmth starting at your center. Like waves of energy. Focusing in now on your third eye and your throat chakra. Deep breath. Moving down the front of your neck and down into the heart, across the front of your chest. One more deep breath. There you go. Okay. Yeah, so who doesn't want to start the day with that? Yeah, feels amazing. So in the process, like when we do that in Soul Convergence, we're deep in before the angels come in, and they've established a really strong connection with you. So many people who are in the Soul Convergence process will physically feel, you're saying full body chills, yeah. But they will physically feel the angels either move, even sometimes physically moving them. There's one woman who was having neck issues, and the angels physically were manipulating her neck the entire time and healed her neck issues, which is amazing. And they do through this process, they do physical healings. I got a text this morning from someone who had a major accident. She was saying about 15 years ago, I think she said, that she had her olfactory nerves were damaged. She hasn't been able to smell or taste anything for 15 years. And she said after working with the angels and Soul Convergence, her smell is coming back because she can taste again, which is just so cool. So they are in there. They are moving things physically. But to me, the excitement is that the feel, you know what I mean, is the feeling of that energy moving through you. And it becomes expansive. It gets deeper and deeper. So as we're going through the process, through the Soul Convergence process, we are trying more and more to make more space for this love to come in through this process of self-acceptance, of self-love. So they are bringing up the energies, bringing up the stuff, triggering it, right? Letting it come to the surface, and then embracing and loving it and bringing it into what they call the center column, right? The center column of light, which is unification with our higher self. So through this process of bringing in all that we are, eliminating resistance, they're aligning the chakras, centering the chakras, activating our upper chakras, and activating our higher self connection. So that's what we're trying to achieve, and what the people in the program achieved is this process of connection, right, to our higher self. Yeah, so just absolutely beautiful, beautiful experience. 86 is saying, my heart got warm, my whole chest filled up, and the husband even interrupted me. Wow. You see my eyes tear up. Yeah. It is experiencing them is an amazing experience. So that is, I think, the biggest, so we were talking about sort of theoretically what happens is that it is this feeling of this understanding, this deep understanding of what is self-love. And it is that sense of being without judgment, of being in a state of, doesn't mean we are perfect, right? We love our imperfections. We understand, like just with a child, you don't criticize a child who can't walk yet because they can't walk, right? If they're, you know, what, a 1-year-old, you don't think they're bad because they can't speak in whole sentences, right? You love them at the stage that they're at. You're like, oh, look, you're learning. You love their progress. You love how they're growing. You love their qualities, their inner qualities, their willingness to try is what you love, you know? And that is what we need to love about ourselves, and take away the sense of judgment that we have about ourselves. So, you're saying, yeah, I feel like I was getting dozens and dozens of kisses and hugs, and they were stroking my hair. Oh, how beautiful. Mary says, hands and feet tingling. Agnes says, this was amazing, awesome. Yay. I'm so glad you guys experienced them. Yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing. So other specific things, I wanted to get into more details about other things that happened in the program that just blew my mind, that I did not understand before, that really helped me to understand the healing process and really, like, what does it mean to be a soul on earth? And I'm still a little, like, the angels are still definitely in, because I'm still a little wobbly. That was like an in and out pretty quick, but they're still in there. So I get a little like lightheaded and dizzy sometimes because the frequency is just very, very high. You're saying this was amazing, awesome, yay! Okay, some other things that happened that to me were mind-blowing, that just all of a sudden it was like a click of awareness. And awareness matters. Like we always talk about, like the heart has to lead the head, right? The head is meant to be the servant of the heart, but the head plays a role for sure. And there's many things we can heal just through awareness. Like it's almost like once you see something, you can't unsee it. When we have a particular behavioral pattern that we're doing where we're shooting ourselves in the foot over and over again, and then all of a sudden we see ourselves doing it, we're like, oh, you know, and that awareness can change our behavior, and that can be healing, very healing for us. So awareness matters. And there was this thing of awareness that came to me through one of the visuals in one of our sessions. So in the sessions, we do 4 sessions on the masculine, 4 weeks, which is 8 sessions on the masculine energy. And then we do 2 weeks break to integrate. And then we do 5 weeks or 10 sessions on feminine energy. And each session is totally different. Like, I never know what they're going to do, but they're always completely different. And they're always meeting people like right where they are. You know what I mean? It's specific to what's happening with the group and each individual at the moment. But I would get these incredible visuals. And in one of the sessions, they were guiding us toward, it's like we're kind of in this, they start us out in this kind of like, you know, heaven type landscape, this sort of cloud space, and we're walking or moving toward what I can see in the distance is like a wall. It looks like a great big wall of clouds. And I see on that wall of clouds all of these, like almost like thunderstorms. Like, you know how when you're if you've ever been in a plane when there's a thunderstorm and you can see the clouds, or even when you just look up at a clouded sky, when there's a thunderstorm and you see lightning flashes inside the clouds. So we're moving towards this, but as we're moving toward it, we are in the all. We are in the everything. Like it's almost like we're connected. Like, imagine when we're on the other side before we're incarnated. We're in the space of connection with the divine, where it's all around us. Almost like we're swimming in the ocean and the ocean is all around us and you can't not feel it. It's like it's part of you. So this is where we are before we incarnate. We're in this space of being in connection with everything. And so that's where we start. We're in the all, in the everything. We're one with everything, and we're headed towards this wall of clouds. And I see these lightning flashes, and what these lightning flashes are all of the experiences from our past lives, all of the places where we have our junk, basically, is what's on this wall. And we're moving toward it in the meditation, getting closer and closer. And this is our moment of incarnation. And it's like we pass through this hole and we become into this space of stillness on the other side. And so the best way I can describe it is like, imagine that I have a sock on my hand, right? I've like, my hand is inside of a sock. And like, okay, like I have this right here. Let's do this as a metaphor. So imagine, here is my hand inside this. And my hand is currently surrounded by this bag. And imagine that this bag is everything. It is the all. It is oneness with everything. And it's completely, my hand is completely immersed in it. All my hand knows is connection with the all, right? It is everywhere around it. So when I go to connect with the all my hand has to do is just feel, and it's right there. It's everything around me, right? It's completely immersive in the all. And so my hand, if I want to be connected or feel connected, it just reaches out and boom, there's the all. So this is what it is when we are on the other side. Our perspective is to reach out and to feel connection with everything, connection with the all. So when we go through this wall, right, which is like this process of being incarnated, we go through this tiny hole, and what happens, imagine I'm going through the wall, and what ends up happening is that it's like this bag. Like, imagine the wall is here and I'm going through it. Right now I'm going through, and I hit this and the bag is peeled off. And all that's left is this little bit. Just this piece is all I have left between my two fingers. And my hand no longer feels the all. My hand is all of a sudden isolated. It's by itself. It no longer feels anything but itself. And all I have left connected with the all is this little tiny bit right here. That's all that's left. And so this is what it's like to go from being connected to, like on the other side where we're connected with everything, to being in separation. And all we have left is the little tiny bit of divine spark that's in our heart. And then the challenge we have, and this is what I saw in the meditation, is that our awareness is still accustomed to being on the other side. So on the other side, when we want to connect with the all we have to do is feel. All we have to be like, oh, reach out outside of ourselves. It's everywhere. It's everywhere around us. So when we come to Earth, where do we look to find our answers? Where do we look to find our connection? We look outside of ourselves, because that's how it was. Our awareness, which came with us from the other side, was conditioned to find the all around us. But now on this side, the all is only contained on the inside in this tiny little bit. And we spend all of our time looking outside of ourselves trying to find it, because that's how it was when we were on the other side. We could reach out of ourselves and see around ourselves, and we were immediately connected with everything. We come here and we try to reach outside of ourselves for answers, and reach outside of ourselves for acknowledgement, for love, for all the things that we want in life. And all that we find is separation, right? And loneliness. And the process of awakening is the process of recognizing that the glove is off, right? That the all is no longer on us. And the only bit of connection we have left is this tiny little bit. And that is located right in here, in our heart. The only place we squeezed on and held on to that last little bit of connection is in our heart. And so it's the process of turning around, and stopping looking outside and looking where to try to connect with the all, we have to turn around and look inside and connect from the inside, right? And then we follow that little thread, that tiny little thread, we follow it back to connect to the all. And that's the process of awakening. And so it is really that shift. And I feel like all we have to do is that's the perceptual shift. It happens in a minute. It is that instant of awakening. That's why I think they call it awakening. It is not a thing that happens over a long period. It's the moment when we turn around and look inside. And then from there, we start to grow. And so that metaphor, seeing that process, and here's the cool mind bender that I noticed in this process, was that think about the symbolism of yin and yang, right? Where you have masculine and feminine energy, and Soul Convergence is all about balancing our masculine and feminine energy. So you have the yin energy and you have the yang energy, and they're intertwined like this, right? But inside the yin, there's a little dot of the masculine. Inside the yang, there's a dot of the feminine. That they're not only are they connected, but they're also, a bit is inside each other. And so think of the masculine as being outside in, and the feminine as being inside out. So think of the masculine as like when I have my hand inside the bag, right? This is our perspective when we are in the masculine, and we are looking from the inside out to connect with the all. And then when we become incarnated, we have to go through this process. It turns inside out, and we have to connect from the inside out. So it's literally a metaphor for the way that we understand masculine and feminine energy, yin and yang, the way these two energies work together. That we, on one side of the veil, we are experiencing inside out, right? From the inside out. We go through the veil, and we have to experience it from inside out. Did I get that backwards? Outside in, inside out. But you get my point, right? It is to me, that was definitely seeing how that plays out in our reality was just amazing to me. Amazing. All right, you're saying, Light Warrior saying the veil. Yes, you said, I feel I have buried wounding. How do you discover it and heal it if you're not sure where it is? I have it blocked. Okay, I am so glad you asked that, Soul Puppy, because that is the entire point of Soul Convergence. And that was what I was about to get to, which is that one of the challenges we have is that, especially for those of you who have been through your awakening, that you guys have been working on yourself, you've been trying to heal, is that at a certain point, all the low-hanging fruit is gone, right? All the stuff that was really obvious that you could heal is gone. And now what you're stuck with is you're like, okay, I know that I've got these fears, or I have these these patterns that I can't seem to shake in my life, or I'm not able to attract that perfect partner. Like, what is going on with me? Like, why is my life not what I want it to be? And how do I, or illness, right? It's showing up as illness, whatever it is. How do I even find it? And it becomes honestly, the more work you do, the harder it is to find those wounds. And the reason why it's so hard is because often those wounds were created before you had memory, like before you were verbal. So if you're nonverbal, we don't store things as memories in the same way. Like it's very, very hard for you to remember what happened when you were in utero or when you were 1 year old. It's really hard for you to recall things that you brought over from past lives. So how do you access that? And that is exactly what, like there are other modalities that you could do it, but Soul Convergence is one. And the way that Soul Convergence works is that it accesses those super, super, super deep subconscious wounds, and it brings them to the surface. So there will be times people in Soul Convergence, they'll be crying and they have no idea why in the sessions. They will not understand what it is that's affecting them, but it will affect them, and it'll come to the surface, and then it gets healed. And the beauty of this is that then it's not continually playing out in mysterious ways in your life. It gives you a way of gently encountering these really, really deep wounds. And sometimes you will find out what they are, because if you're a dreamer, not everybody remembers their dreams, but if you are in the program, you will be working with a dream analyst who will be able to tell you, and they will show up. Usually the first thing that happens, or often the first thing that happens, is people will immediately see, we'll start the masculine, and they'll have dreams of men coming to the door, knocking at the door. And this is showing that the process is waking up your masculine energy, bringing it to the door, saying, hey, masculine energy is here. Now let's see what your resistance is. Let's see where you're afraid of your masculine energy. And that's where the process begins of starting to unpack and look and see what's going on. As a matter of fact, it was really hilarious. One person dreamt that their masculine energy, that man came and knocked on the door, came into a hallway, which is about transition, and starts unpacking suitcases. Like, what more perfect of a metaphor for this process is that's what's going on, is that the angels bring forward your masculine, it triggers you and helps you access these very, 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 these wounds that are we can't do it consciously. We have to access them subconsciously because we don't have a memory of them. And so, like I said, sometimes you will have information given to you through your dreams about what they are. So yes, there were people in Soul Convergence who discovered very significant childhood trauma that they had no awareness of in the process, that where details came forward in their dreams and things like that, where they would have awarenesses come to them. But for some people, they would experience it as super heightened emotion, right? Where they would just they'd be processing the emotion. They would find triggers in their daily life, and it would be thematic. It'd be like, okay, right now they're processing, whatever it is that's coming up for them. It's the feeling of being persecuted, or the feeling of everyone's against them, or whatever it is, and they would work through that energy, and it would heal. And then here's an amazing thing about this process, this idea of self-love, is what we found is that for the people because the healing would happen for each person, everybody was on their own path, because what's happening as a group, but then each person has their angels are working with them specifically through this process. So everybody's having a very unique healing experience through this process. But they would go through the process, and they would be like a wave, a wave going through, and there would be periods where it would peak for each person. And what we found was that if they dove into the wave, our tendency is to say, whoa, this is getting so intense, I have so much emotion. Our fear is that we're going to get lost in the emotion, right? That we'll never be able to find our way out of it, that we'll be carried away by the emotion or the hurt, that we get lost in the story of the hurt, you know what I mean? That we get really sucked into the feeling of it hurts, victimization, feeling like a victim. It hurts, right? And we can get lost there. But what happened is what we found worked is for people. So say, for example, they were working on a specific session, like session 8 was the one that just really got them, right? All this emotion coming up, all this stuff coming up. We would tell them, do this session again, like do it 3 times in a day even, and boom, it would clear. The deepest trauma would clear. It was amazing to see. It would be this idea of you need to saturate yourself with this loving frequency. Saturate it. Take this hurt that seems so enormous and love it. Just smother it in love through doing these sessions. And boom, it would pass, right? And so that's how we saw so much healing. And it was incredible to witness the journey that people took. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Let's say you guys are saying, I agree, but can't reach any of my guides. I can't see anything in meditation. I'm so lost. I thought I was awake, but I'm just learning and reaching and nothing. And that is absolutely okay. And I'm like squinting like crazy to read. I should have my glasses on. But that is like the fact that you are in meditation is the win. So what I would say is don't think about the goal of your meditation as to see while you are in meditation. Think of meditation as the thing that's preparing you. So when you're in meditation, you still yourself and your energy. So be totally satisfied. If you go through a whole meditation, you don't have any big insights, no one speaks to you, nothing happens. All you do is you get calm. That's a win. Because the work you're doing in meditation is just to prepare you for going out and being in your life and being guided in your life. So take away the expectation that the meditation is going to be the connection. And think of it just as putting on your spiritual sensitivity is what meditation is for. And then go out into the world with that lovely spiritual perspective and see how life shows up for you, right? And will the other things come? Like, will you channel? Will you do all these other things? Very likely. Like, everybody is gifted in different ways, and that's a process. But it starts with this idea of getting into the flow, of just allowing yourself to be, to think and to take away anywhere that you're judging your process. That's what to focus on. How do you release the judgment? But I think it helps a lot with meditation to not feel like you have a goal in meditation. Your only responsibility in meditation is presence, is to try to clear your field and prepare you. It's almost like putting on your spacesuit to go out, right? Like except this is your spiritual sensitivity spacesuit. It is your extra sensory sensitivity is what you're putting on when you do meditation. Yeah. I hope that helps. So somebody's feet are in the background. Yes, that's Jeff's feet. He's sitting over there with his headphones on, being very patient on our vacation while I do this. So he's a sweetheart. Let's see. I tried regression audio, but it seems my mind is so hard to keep quiet. I have a wall. Yeah. And like I said, just let go of the judgment. If you have stuff coming up, then notice it and love it. Like notice whatever's coming up. Notice those thoughts and say, I see I'm thinking a lot about that right now. And then just let that unfold, like unpack it in a gentle way, in a non-judgmental way, right? Like ease through that process. One of the things you can do if you're really trying to still, like a lot of times they always say meditation to listen to your own breath. And that bugs me personally because whenever I listen to my breath, it alters my breathing. And then I find I'm not breathing enough. And then I end up yawning. It just messes with me. So what I do when I meditate is I attune to my other senses. Is whenever I start going down the monkey mind, I just will all of a sudden turn on my hearing and I listen to whether it be the hum of the air conditioning or the sounds of the bugs outside. And I listen to those intensely. So I know it's counterproductive, but it's that idea of becoming more aware so that I can become, it's drawing you out of the physical mind and into the physical presence. And then from that space, that seems to calm everything down. And then every time I get distracted, I just go back to listening to, like here, it'd be really easy because there's just really loud bugs. But that's what helps me with that process. Do you have tips for seeing, remembering dreams? Yes. So one of the things you can do with your dreams is so right before your best chance of remembering your dreams is right before you wake up in the morning is going to be your richest fodder for remembering dreams because you're kind of in a lighter sleep state then, and you can make that even better by set your alarm for 90 minutes before you have to wake up, and then you'll wake up and then go back to sleep again, and that interrupts your sleep cycle enough so that you get it's 555. I just noticed. Yay, triple numbers. But it wakes you up enough so that you're not quite as deeply asleep. And then when you wake up, don't move. When you first come to consciousness, literally physically do not move your body. Just lay there for a minute and just almost kind of let yourself drift in and out a little bit for a minute and try. It's almost like the dream will be like a tiny thread, like this little teeny tiny, like one glip of a memory. And then you take that and imagine just slightly pulling on that thread, like just focus on it, but not in almost like you're daydreaming about that little tiny thread. And then it slowly opens, and then boom, you get a segment of the dream back. And then you stay, and then you immerse yourself, try to remember being in the dream, and then you get a little bit more, and a little bit more. And then you got to write it down immediately. And the way I do that, if I have a dream come to me in the middle of the night, if I wake up and I have a dream, I will dictate that into my phone. I start an email to myself and I speak it into my phone, so that I don't, because otherwise by the time you wake up in the morning, you remember nothing. But those are some techniques that work very, very well. There are a lot of people who started Soul Convergence who never remembered their dreams. And then as soon as they started remembering. And you don't have to have a ton of dreams. Even one dream is enough that you can get really, really good information from one dream. But there are a lot of people who were in it who did not dream, and it was perfectly okay, because there's still techniques you can do. There's sort of walking, or waking, like almost like a subconscious meditation process you can use when you're waking in your sessions with the dream analyst, where you can. It's kind of like a little bit of a guided hypnotherapy where you can access subconscious information. So it doesn't matter if you don't dream when you do the program, but if you do dream, then it's a really cool added point of access to your own guidance, which is really, really cool. So let's see. My self-judgment is because I can't overcome depression. I'm so sorry to hear that, Mary. And that is a real thing. Like the depression is, there's a chemistry to it. And so, like, that is something I think where when you feel in judgment of it, to know that it's not something that you're doing to yourself on purpose, that it's there. And I think the big thing, again, get back to that idea of don't judge your depression. And I know when you're depressed, it can feel very, very difficult to motivate yourself to do things. But often that depression is coming because of repressed trauma. And so I would highly suggest engaging in a process, whether it be Soul Convergence or another program like it. Like, that is going to give, in my opinion, your best shot at trying to access and to heal the root cause of depression. A lot of times depression comes from traumas that we do not remember, do not recall, or deny, right? There's a lot of stuff. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I would tell everybody, like, I didn't have any trauma from my childhood. Like, my child was really happy. Like, I had no issues, right? And then once I got on my path, and man, my dreams were like, your childhood sucked. My dreams were telling me, like, I had massive birth trauma and I had massive, like, all this stuff, right? But as a kid, you just, oh, I'm fine. It's normal. You dismiss it. You don't recognize how things affect you. And you need to go through a process that allows you the freedom and in a safe space to unpack it. And it is subconscious. Like I said, we don't have memories of most of this stuff. Or if we do have memories, we discount it. We don't think it was important. And so we don't give it its due. And we can't, if you've got that inner child and that inner child is deeply wounded and we're telling that inner child, oh yeah, that happened, but it wasn't that important, right? It's not going to help us. Yeah. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to get to the messages here. Let me get here. I just stuck a little thing up. There we go. And you're saying, if you miss the beginning, go back to the self-love. Yes, the self-love is that's exactly where you want to be, is in the self, and that's exactly what we're talking about in terms of working with your own depression. Yeah. And I would say, like, yeah, when you're thinking about your depression, think about working with it, thinking about it as think of your depression as an ingredient in the life that you chose for yourself, that it has information in it for you, that your depression is here to serve you, that your depression is here as a guide, right, to lead you towards your greater truth. And so love it as that guide. And I know it hurts. Like, Earth is a school that hurts, and we learn through being hurt. It's just sort of like as a child, we learn not to touch the stove because it hurts. And I know that's difficult. And I also know that in the new reality we're headed towards, it's not going to be like that anymore, which is like, yay. But in the meantime, we want to get the most out of this Earth school that we can. We want to take advantage of the fact that this is a hurty place because it teaches us, right? This is the place of intensity where we cannot avoid ourselves. So we learn faster here than anywhere else. Yeah. And you say, I know this coursework will open my heart better for giving Reiki healings. Totally excited to begin. Yay, Celeste. It is so true. You're absolutely right. And it will. Like, it will intensify your own connection. And that is part of what makes it so exciting. Yeah, for sure. My dreams guide me in my life purpose. Me too. I love, and I don't have enough dreams. Like, I wish I had more dreams. Like, you know what I mean? But the dreams I have, I listen to and I take action on. Yeah, for sure. So you got to mention, while we were answering my question, it was 555. Yes. Oh, that is the time my brother passed in October. Oh my goodness. Angels of your brother. That is so awesome. Wow. Linda says, when I don't take time to meditate during the day, I have lucid nightmares. Lesson learned. Oh my goodness. Wow. So nightmares are also incredibly informative. So those repetitive dreams you have again and again, nightmares, those are great ones to bring. So in Soul Convergence, you'll be working with a dream analyst, and they will tell you right away what those are telling you about those underlying deep subconscious wounding. Yeah. So you'll get a lot of information, which is super cool. So those are gems. As much as they are not fun, they are gems. So I had good parents, but nobody is perfect. I forgave my parents for any mistakes they made, and it made a huge difference. That is hugely helpful. Absolutely. And I think there's two pieces that we have to go through with that. The one is acknowledging that we were hurt, right? Like it's to see the wounding and to acknowledge that it was painful. And not only to acknowledge that it was painful, but that it was as bad as we thought it was, or even worse than we thought it was, right? And then the second piece is to say, okay, then this was also done in service to me, right? It was given to me. It was given for me, right? For me, so that I could see something about myself, that wounding. If I think about the ways that I was wounding in childhood, I can dwell on the fact that it was painful. And I have to acknowledge to myself that it was painful, because that inner child of mine wants to be seen and wants to know that its feelings are valid. But then I can also say to that inner child, I can say, okay, this wounding that you feel was there before. And this person you feel hurt you was only showing you the wounding that was already existing, right? Was bringing it to the surface so that you could heal it. Yeah. So there was a couple other notes I wanted to share with you about let me just see here what I wrote. One other thing I wanted to mention another thing about the process, what was so interesting about Soul Convergence that I learned was about the interaction of divine masculine and divine feminine. That divine masculine, so the angels designed the process. I channeled the process and they told me how to do it. And then, like I said, each time we had a session, I'd go into channel. And I'm not as deep in channel during the Soul Convergence sessions as I am, say, for example, when I channel the Friday Live. I'm still partly in my body. And that is because they need me there for the channeling of the healing part, that it comes through me, which is different from how they've worked in the past. But it works like hot darn, and I love it because I get to experience it too. So, so they showed me how it needed to be designed, and they were very clear that we had to do the masculine portion first. And then during the whole process that I'm running Soul Convergence, I'm dreaming about the process. All my dreams are about the program and about the process and what people are going through. And they showed me through my dreams, and then also told me in channeling, that the masculine energy has to come first, because the masculine energy comes up and underneath the feminine energy and pushes it upward. So it's almost like, think about feminine energy as being, if masculine energy is action and motivation and it's desire, it's will, it's drive. Feminine energy is that stillness. But there's a lot of activity that happens in feminine energy, is that our spiritual leadership is a feminine quality. But feminine energy is also still. It likes to sit, it likes to rest, it's quiet, it's in shadow, it's winter, And in order for that energy to express, the masculine has to come in. It has to be a melding. It has to be both. The masculine has to come into it and push that energy up and out, right? And then it can lead, right? Then it can express. Then it can discern. The feminine energy comes up. So we have to do the masculine first and then the feminine. And I saw this. It was so interesting. And to see that the feminine by itself does not have, like, the feminine part of ourselves. And this has, again, nothing to do with male and female. I think you guys all know that, but it's always good to say it again. This is not about man, woman. That each of us has a masculine energy, or the yang energy, and we have the yin female energy. We have both energies inside of ourselves. And they work together in this lovely rhythmic dance, right? And so think about this, that the way our masculine comes in, it says, okay, I have the first, we start with the feminine, and the feminine is the one that chooses to do the program. The feminine is the one that discerns, that attunes to our truth and says, here is where I want to go, right? Here is where I'm guided to be. Here's my truth. That's our feminine speaking. And the masculine says, great, okay, now I'm going to support you. I'm going to come underneath and I'm going to push that beautiful desire up. Right? I'm gonna provide the will and the drive to make it happen. And then the feminine comes back and says, okay, great, we're heading in this direction. Now I'm going to continue to be attuned, to have insight. I'll be the eyes, I'll be the ears, I'll be the connection, right? To keep us on track. And then the masculine says, great, okay, I'm going to use what you've told me to discern from the world, how can I best deliver that? What is our plan, right? What resources do we need? How can I supply that? That's our masculine. And the two go back and forth in this beautiful dance. And so that's what we're trying to achieve. Really, the ultimate that we're trying to achieve in Soul Convergence is to strengthen and blend both aspects of ourselves, to balance our masculine and feminine energy so that they're working in harmony. And the way that people see it happening in their dreams is they'll see they'll see themselves reaching higher states of consciousness. You'll see it by they'll be having dreams where they're crossing borders or taking a test, or there's these very specific symbols and dreams that show that they've reached a higher state of consciousness. And then it shows that the blending has happened. They'll have dreams about weddings and dreams about bicycles, which is like, balancing. And I mean, it's amazing to see it happen. And then, like I said, they get this activation, and the activation of these higher chakras come in. So one of the other things that's happening in Soul Convergence, which is super exciting, is that the angels showed me in one of my dreams. I had a dream during the program, of course, where I was in a building with my masculine and my feminine energy. In my dreams, my masculine and feminine are with me most of the time. Like they're kind of like right there, which is really cool. And I'm walking out of the building, and I know there's two buildings, two outbuildings, and one of which is big open airplane hangar, and the other one is a cave. And the cave is because we were beginning our work on the feminine, and the cave is often a symbol in dreams for feminine energy, and for the, for the womb and stuff like that. And I wanted to go to the airplane hangar, this giant empty airplane hangar, but the two people with me were like, no, we're doing that later, come this way. And the airplane hangar was their way of telling me this is what's coming next. This is what comes after Soul Convergence. And so I channeled on it later, and it is after Soul Convergence. There'll be a program probably this summer, which is about activating and connecting to your gifting, to your own ability to channel, to heal, to whatever your specific gifting is. It's to activate that and to amplify that. But the reason why they're showing it as after Soul Convergence is that in the Soul Convergence process, what's happening is every time people are doing the meditations, they are building up a reservoir of energy. And I was totally unaware of this until after we finished the program. And then they told me, and then I had dreams about it. And they showed that every time people were working with the meditations, it's like there was almost like if you do qigong, there people talk about building up energy in the dantian. It's like you're building up chi in the body. It's like that. You're building up an energy, but it's just like an angelic energy, building it up in the body. And so you go through this whole 11-week process, building up this beautiful reservoir of energy. And that is the energy that they're going to use in the follow-on program for anybody who wants to do it, to connect your gifts, to amplify your gifts. So that was just a total big fat bonus from my perspective. When I heard that, I was like, okay. Anyways, really, really, really cool. So there's others. I could talk about this stuff for hours and hours, and I'm so glad you guys joined me today. Let me see what else you guys are saying. When I take time to meditate, here's the one you were saying. Just a moment. Let's see. I started setting love and thanks to my body parts and my knees today. It's helping with a sense of self-love. I love that. I do that in the morning when I wake up, as I just kind of go through a process of just loving myself, of just bringing in that love and just feeling like it's a lovely feeling. It's a really, really good feeling. Like, why not do that all the time? I used to dream I could fly all the time. I haven't had them in a while. That's a great dream. So flying dreams usually mean you have the ability to rise above your problems and take the spiritual perspective. It can also mean that you have a very strong intellect and that you have the ability to project your mind, which makes you a great teacher. So imagine that if you're a teacher, you can have an idea in your mind or a visual, a metaphor for a particular thing you're trying to teach, and it's like you can project that metaphor or that a visual into someone else's mind to help them learn faster. So that's what flying dreams mean. So it's a great dream, and it's a specific spiritual gift to be able to project like that is a specific spiritual gift. So very, very cool. Yeah. My healer called in the angels to heal my neck pain a few months ago, and now I ask the angels to heal me when and if I need it. That is great, and that's a beautiful way to cultivate your relationship with your angels. I love that. Astral traveling is real. Yes, it is. When my higher self slips away in the middle of the night, I could grab him by the toe and tag along. That is so cool. You're saying, I'm so energetically insensitive that I believe I'm here to learn through others, such as yourself. The more you do, and thank you so much for being open and willing. The fact that you are open, like the fact that you are listening to this means that you are energetically sensitive, because if you weren't, this would not be interesting to you. So I would give yourself a whole lot more credit than you're giving yourself. Yeah. So, and you're saying, is the Ida feminine and Pingala masculine energy descending from ourselves? You mean from our higher self? I see it more as the masculine and feminine, that I see it as almost like, think about like how there are certain principles of physics that govern our universe, like gravity. Like I see masculine and feminine being like the breath of the universe, of all creation. Like the exhale is the masculine, and then, the inhale is the masculine and the exhale is the feminine. The expansion of the body is the masculine, right? And then the return to stillness is the feminine. And that breath, that everything that is true, it's like the idea of everything that's true on the small is true for the all, right? Everything that's true in your body is true out there. So your breath is a perfect metaphor for the energy of everything in the world, in the universe. And it is that push and pull, the north and south, right? Masculine and feminine. It is like the two energies balance each other. All of the universe is held into shape and form by the interaction of these two energies. So I see it as like a constant more than anything. It comes from source, from the divine. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah. And then, let's see, I asked ChatGPT some questions about banking earlier. It felt like it could almost read my mind and wonder if spirit could speak through it. What do your guides think about AI? The super interesting. The only thing they've said about technology is that there is a negative consciousness at the root of a lot of technology, and they said that there will be a period of darkness, and it will reset technology, that we won't lose technology, but it will reset it. And so that it can be reborn into a higher state of consciousness, into a higher frequency, which is cool. Yeah. So in other words, it sounds like all the lights go out for a little while. And I don't know if it's everybody talk about 3 days. I can't remember if the angel said 3 days. So, but it's enough to drain the power, right? Enough to turn technology off and to give it a reboot. That's what they've said. Yeah. I've had flying dreams a lot in the past. That is awesome. Me too. And my dad had the same ones. That is super cool. Thank you for sharing. So helpful. Awesome. Thank you so much. Linda says, I had kidney problems because I was in civil war and was stabbed in the kidneys. So shaman brought in my angels and healed it. That is super, super cool. And what do you think about Kundalini exercises? I mean, to wake it up. Do you think it is bad to force energy if it is automatic? Great question. And in the Soul Convergence, one of the last sessions, it is like a Kundalini awakening. They do draw the energy up through all the chakras to activate the higher chakras. And you are right that without the proper preparation, it can be a bad thing. That if it's forced, and I know people personally who tried to force it by using substances and ended up having like a psychotic break. So yeah, it's not something to be messed with, for sure. So, which is why I think it's no matter what program you choose, to make sure you're using your discernment, like use your own, be led by your heart, and listen if you have reservations. It should come from a place of joy, of joyful feeling. Like when we get into troubles, when we're led by our fear, our heart will never speak in fear. It will only speak in joy. So when you feel joyful about something, that is the path to follow. But finding help in terms of someone to help guide you through that process, I think is very, very good, unless it happens spontaneously, in which case it's being guided by your own guides and your angels. So that's on your path, and that's great. But for many people, it helps to have a guide. So, and it sounds like there's someone here. So, but I got to wrap it up, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful that you guys took this time with me. And we are going to go enjoy. This is actually our last day, our last full day here, and we are headed home tomorrow. So, yep, I have gotten all the bug bites I can manage. Time to go. It has been so awesome. So, thank you guys so much for spending the day with me. If you would like to join Soul Convergence, we start February 10th. And the link is on my website, anntucker.com. You'll see the button there right there on the home page. I hope you consider it. It will be life-changing. And that I can say with confidence. It will be life-changing. And I hope you consider it. All right. Have a wonderful day, you guys. Lots of love. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.